Hello friends! Welcome to Unicorn Poop Knits, the channel where I show you how to make whimsical knitted creations. In today's episode, I'll be doing another knit chat tea. I'm working on the Spellman sweater by Dragon Horde Yarns, and it's coming along nicely. So it starts at the top. It's a top-down sweater. I think this is the front. Yeah, this is the front. And it starts with a twisted German cast-on, which I hadn't known how to do before this project. So I learned something new and that was fun. And then you just do a knit one through the back loop and purl one rib for about an inch. And then you do these decreases, these raglan, not decreases, increases, sorry. You do these raglan increases along here and here, and in the back as well. And again, this yarn is gorgeous. This is Ritual Dyes yarn in the colorway Scorpio, and this is the Maiden yarn base, and this is the Fae yarn base. I've almost used this one up. I used up one whole ball of the Maiden already, and I've almost used up the first whole ball of the Fae. So this is the second ball of the Maiden, and this is the first ball of the Fae still. And I've separated the sleeves down here, but while I'm increasing on the sides at the raglan seam lines in the front and back, I'm also working on this really adorable sleeve detail with the baubles and the cables. And I actually made a lot of mistakes on the baubles. On one of the baubles, I dropped a stitch, so there was just this stitch hanging loose on the bauble. And the way I fixed that was I took a crochet hook and I brought that loose stitch to the inside, and I held it in place with a few crochet stitches and tied this knot, and it'll be hidden on the inside, so no one will even know it happened except me and whoever's watching this. And then there was one round where I completely forgot to do baubles, and so I had to rip back 3 rounds to go back and make the baubles. So it's been an adventure. I'm a pretty experienced knitter, but on this project I made a lot of mistakes with the baubles. It's alright though, I just had to rip it back and redo it, no big deal. So that's what I'm working on today, and I'm drinking this peppermint tea in these little teacups I bought in Hong Kong at the night market, and they're really pretty, really pretty. Can you see that? Ah, there you go. So pretty. And this mint tea is very good. It's just plain peppermint tea. Very good. So, this is going to be a New Year's Eve special. Happy New Year's Eve. Right now, it's actually the day before New Year's Eve when I'm filming this, but by the time I put it up on YouTube, it's going to be New Year's Eve. Before I talk about the new year, I want to talk about the knitting projects I finished at the end of this year. So first, I talked about this a little bit in my last knit chat tea. First, I made this hat. It was supposed to be a witch's hat for Halloween, but it ended up not really coming out like a witch's hat. Like if I put it on my head, it just basically looks like kind of a quirky hat. It's not really a witch's hat, I'd say. It's more of just a quirky hat, which is cool too. I'm definitely gonna wear this winter. It's very warm and very different and unique, and I like it. And I like the little flowers that I put on here. And I actually finished this way after Halloween. I finished this in early December because I was procrastinating and it took me a while to finish these last little flowers. I actually filmed this whole thing, so this will probably be one of the first tutorials I put up in the new year. And it won't be a witch's hat, it'll just be kind of a quirky hat that you can make. And it's kind of fun. I tried some different things with it, different stitch patterns and some fun crocheting techniques that I haven't done before. And this is my own design, so I can't wait to put up a tutorial. And like I said, everything's been filmed, so I really just have to do some editing, and there you go. And then I used my shawl in a ball yarn that I talked about in one of my previous Knit Chat teas. I've been wanting to make a shawl because I haven't made one in a long time, so I got this Lion Brand Yarns shawl in a ball. This is supposed to be enough yarn for an entire shawl. We shall see. It's kind of a small shawl, like I thought it would be, but it's nice and long, and it's a little asymmetrical, and it came out very nice. I like it a lot. I like the stripes, I like the gradient of the yarn, and it's also quite sparkly if you look at it closely. And I actually made a mini tutorial, so I'm going to insert that right here. Hello there, so I'm going to show you how to make this really simple asymmetrical shape, in this case for a shawl. It's almost done, as you can see. I was really on a roll, so I just have this tiny bit of yarn left. So to get the asymmetrical shape, it's really simple. You just knit one, yarn over, and then you knit to 2 stitches before the end of the row. Now 2 stitches are left at the end of this row. So we'll knit these 2 stitches together, and then turn the work and knit across, and then repeat these 2 rows until you have the desired length, and that's how you get this shawl with an asymmetrical shape. And then for the striped sections, I was using just 1 ball of a gradient yarn, so I pulled yarn from the inside of the ball and a yarn tail from the outside of the ball and alternated them every 2 rows, and that's how I got this nice striping pattern in certain sections, like this. So that's the tutorial. It's actually been a really long time since I've followed a pattern to make a sweater. It's been how many years now? I think the last time I followed a pattern to make a sweater was in 2011, so it's been about 8 years. And I just saw this pattern by Tristan Molina of Dragon Horde Yarns, and it's called the Stardust Sweater, and I decided I really want to make this. I couldn't afford to buy Dragon Horde yarns at the time, so I went to my local yarn store and I picked up some Cascade yarns in hemp and wool, and some Bliss yarn that was a kind of mohair. It was the right weight that I needed for the project. So I made this great big Stardust sweater that's a beautiful color. I love this purple. I love purple in general. It's one of my favorite colors. And it came out so nicely, and it was really fun to knit. Again, it's another top-down sweater. So it starts up here with a knit one through the back loop and a purl one rib. And again, there are these raglan increases, and you separate the sleeves. And it has this really nice lace pattern down the front, and in the middle of the lace pattern, there's this cabling pattern that you have to look at it really closely to see. It's in between the 2 rows of lace, the 2 columns of lace. And it's this really nice cabling pattern, but it's very subtle. You really have to look at it closely to see it. And there are also these baubles, and in the pattern, there's a way to make, there are instructions to make baubles, but I've always made baubles my own way. So I didn't follow that pattern, I just made the baubles the way I always do. And if you do this pattern, you could obviously do the baubles the way you want to, or the way it says in the pattern, or you could do it my way. It's really up to you. So I have another mini tutorial on how I make these baubles. Hey there, it's Editing Erin here. I'm going to show you how to make a bauble. So on this next stitch, I'm going to knit one front and back 3 times. So we'll have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done 6 stitches into 1 stitch. Now I turn the work. And I'm going to purl 6 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to turn the work again to the right side, and I'm going to purl 2 together 3 times. Did I say purl 2 together? I meant knit 2 together. So I'm knitting 2 together. 1, 2, 3 times. So here are the 3 stitches, and then I'm going to turn the work and purl 3. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to turn the work, and I'm going to knit 3 together, which brings us back to 1 stitch. And there you have it. And I've created a bubble right here. Alright, now I'm going to pick up my knitting and talk about some of my New Year's resolutions. So one thing I want to do is use up all of my extra yarn that I have from previous projects and make new things. Like, I want to use some of the yarn from Freddie the Unicorn to make another unicorn. So Freddie will have a wife. I'm thinking of calling her Frankie, perhaps. And that would be another tutorial. I would also like to start posting videos on my YouTube channel more regularly and continue to build my YouTube channel. And some other projects I want to make are... So about a year ago, I followed this pattern and I made this turtle, and I have a ton of yarn left over from making this turtle, and I think I want to make another turtle to be his little friend. So I'll do that, and if there's more yarn left over from that, which I imagine there will be, I want to make some stripy socks. I want to design some stripy socks with colorful heels and colorful soles and toes and a little nice border. I'm designing something in my head right now to use up the rest of this yarn. And the first video I did on this channel was the Pink Sweater Pilot episode. I'm actually thinking of completely ripping out that sweater and making a new one. Actually, I probably won't rip out the sleeves. I'll probably keep the sleeves the way they are. They're very pretty. And I'll just rip out everything else and do it all over again. And it is a very pretty sweater, but I almost never wear it. And the reason for that is that it's always falling off of my shoulders. And I want to re-knit it in a way that it stays on my shoulders easily and I don't have to safety pin it to my clothes to keep it in place. I want it to just be really comfortable and easy to wear. And it is mostly comfortable now, but it could be more comfortable. So I'm just gonna rip it out and do it again. And I've already done that once before and I was very happy that I did it because I had this sweater that was made out of fantastic yarn, really nice alpaca yarn, and I never wore it. And then I ripped it out and re-knitted it, and now it's one of my most favorite sweaters. It's gorgeous. I also want to use some of the white yarn from Freddie the Unicorn and some of the black yarn from this hat to make a panda with a little red bow around its neck. That would just be adorable. And I would like to, once I use up all the yarn, there's a pattern I'd really like to make. I've never tried entrelac knitting and I would love to learn how to do it, so I'm going to show you the pattern. I want to learn how to do entrelac and I want to make this pattern. I've always wanted to follow this pattern and make this sweater ever since I've had this book. I really love this pattern, so I want to hopefully do it this year. And then I'll know how to do entrelac as well. I would also like to learn brioche knitting, and which is a sort of double knitting, and you have one color on one side and one color on the other side, but both colors kind of show through. And I would like to learn intarsia. And I would like to maybe learn in another language. I already know English and French, but I'd like to learn maybe Spanish, maybe Japanese, maybe Mandarin, I'm not sure. All three of those interest me. I'm not sure if I could learn all three in a year. I might have to just focus on one. And I would need some realistic expectations. Maybe I could be upper beginner or lower intermediate in 1 year. That's my guess. Well, it's an educated guess. I did a master's degree in second language teaching, so I know something about it. But I think with the amount of time I have in a day and the amount of time I could realistically devote to it, I might be able to be an upper level beginner or lower level intermediate in one language by this time next year, if I actually do it. And another thing I want to do is go to the library more frequently and read more books, because I used to read a lot of books, but since I finished my master's degree, I haven't been reading a lot of books. Between, I'd say in April and May and June, I read quite a lot of books. I took a lot of books out of the library and I read them. But once I was in Hong Kong, I was so busy seeing all of the sights and visiting different things and trying to get the most out of the experience there. And then when I came back here, I just didn't do it as much because I was focused on other things. But this year I really want to read a lot. So I started by getting a library card, finally, in this town, in this little suburb of Montreal. I finally got a library card here and I took out some books. I took out Peace and Plenty. And I took out Island Beneath the Sea by Isabel Allende, or I should say Allende, because she's Hispanophone, so it would be Allende. And Origin by Dan Brown. This is a book I've wanted to read for a long time. I've actually wanted to read all of these, come to think of it, for a long time. I'm hoping I can read these this week, but that's a lot of reading, so we'll see. So that's it for this New Year's special. I wish you a very happy New Year, and I hope you had great holidays, and I hope you have the best New Year you possibly can. As usual, stay whimsical. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.